Alright, welcome back to another video. I'm still on the bike, but I'm getting so close to being back out running. Yesterday was my longest run back since I did 10.5k. It was still broken, but it's getting there, it's building up. But anyway, today, 15 times 80 seconds, pretty much max effort on the bike with 40 seconds recovery. Been an hour in total, and then we'll get into what you're actually here for. Big video on how to build your perfect shoe rotation for the marathon that you've just entered. I'm gonna get this done, and I'll see you when I finish my session. We'll get into that. So let's go. Now I'm stuck going up a hill. If you're on the bike a lot, definitely can't recommend Zwift enough. Turns it all into a giant game. It makes it so much more fun. Except when you finish a rep and you're absolutely gassed and you've still got 200 meters to go on a 12% incline. Then it kind of sucks. But, alright, so it's the next day. I filmed this whole video yesterday and hated how it came out, so I'm redoing it again now. I want to keep it as simple as I can. I just got back from my first non-stop run in the last couple of weeks, 30 minutes, 6.6k. And it felt great. It was so good. So I am so close to getting back. But like I said before, all about shoe rotation. So I want to keep this as simple as I possibly can so that you can just take the principles from this and go out and buy whatever shoes you want to try and find the best rotation for you. So I'm here with all of my shoes, and I'm going to break it down into how many shoes do you need in your rotation, and then my top 3 things to look for when you're trying to pick which shoes to get. So how many shoes do you need in your rotation? Well, I mean, really, 2. You can get away with 2. You know, an easy high mileage shoe and a race shoe. That's it. That's really all you need, because you can do 90% of your running in this, and then you can do your effort sessions and your races in this. If you want to get really fancy, you can add a third shoe, a sort of up-tempo shoe that you can use for thresholds and long runs, but that's sort of purely personal choice on whether or not you do that. Today we're going to run off of needing 3 pairs for your rotation. So what are the 3 things, 4 in the last category, that you need to look for when you're trying to decide what shoes to put into your rotation? So first off, number 1, support. How much support do you need in a shoe? There's sort of 3 categories of shoe. You've got sort of unstable shoes, neutral shoes, and high stability shoes. Something like Pegasus would be considered a neutral shoe. Something like a Structure would be considered a high support shoe, and then something more like, and then I'm not sure which one in Nike's range would be considered unsupportive, but there are shoes out there that the more the shoe cuts in under your arch, the less stable it's going to be. So that would be category number 1, is do you need a low, medium, or high support shoe? And that's different for everyone, and it also depends on your preferences too. Technically, I should probably be running in sort of more high support shoes. I find if I lace the shoes up right and do enough strength, I don't really have any issues, so I get to run in almost whatever I want. Second category is going to be cushioning. How much cushioning do you want? Now, there is so many options now. You can have anything from Pegasus, which would be considered sort of standard cushioning, nothing crazy, nothing too fancy, all the way up to Alpha Flyers, which are like marshmallows. It's going to be purely personal preference, but this can also come back to stability a little bit. If you want a more high stability shoe, you might pick a shoe that's a little bit harder, a bit more dense foam, so it's not going to compress as much underneath that weak side of your foot to give you a little bit more support. If that's not as much of an issue, you can go from a softer shoe. But then this sort of comes down to what's the shoe for. If it's your easy high mileage shoe, like the Pegasus for me, you might think, oh well, I do want a much softer shoe for my easy runs, easy day after a long run, or maybe your warm-up, your cool-down shoe after sessions. But if it's your race shoe, you might say, oh, I might like something a little bit more responsive, not quite as soft, a little bit more pop, so you might go towards a little bit of a firmer shoe. So that would be the second category, is the sort of the density of the foam. Do you want something really soft or something a bit more firm? And again, there's so many options out there that you really can't go wrong with any that you pick. The next category is how much do you want to spend. There is everything from, the Pegasus Premium, they're $300 here in Australia, down to, this isn't a normal Pegasus, this is the old Turbo, but if this was a normal Pegasus, they're, I think, 220, under 200 in Australia now. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but that's a pretty significant price difference between the two. And then that only goes up into the race shoes. You've got an Alpha Fly, this is $380 here in Australia. You can go all the way up to the Adidas Asics Evo 1, not Asics, you can go all the way up to the Adidas Evo 1 Pro, which is $750 here in Australia. Or you can get something like an X%, which I don't have one on me here, but they're $320 in Australia. So price is a big thing too. And that goes for all the training shoes as well. You can get anything from sort of the Super Blast, they're over $300, down to just your standard Pegasus, under 200. And last category, this really only applies to your race shoes. This doesn't really apply to anything else because weight shouldn't really matter in your training shoes. But think about what distance you're running. If you're running 5, 10K, maybe a half, you might want a lighter weight shoe. An Alpha Fly, it's not the lightest shoe, but the drawbacks in weight are made up for by the energy return in the later half of a marathon. That might not matter as much in a 5 or a 10K. I'm considering going back to the next percents for my 10K, but then you got to come back to stability. For me, I find the Alpha Fly holds my ankles in a bit better, and in the next percent, they're just all over the place. So that's, again, maybe I'll take the weight penalty to get a bit more of a stable shoe. They're my 3 things that I'd recommend looking for to build out your perfect shoe rotation. And I haven't really recommended any individual shoes because I only run in Nike. So my rotation is the Pegasus Premium now for easy runs, the Zoom Fly for long runs, and the Alpha Fly for intervals and racing. That's what I use. But I tried to break it down like this so that you can take and apply it to pretty much any brand you want. So to recap, you're going to want to look for what level of stability you need, how much they cost, how soft you want them to be, and for your racing shoes, how much do they weigh depending on what distance you're running. I hope this has helped. A little bit of a shorter video today. We go to New Zealand tomorrow. Subscribe, leave a comment if you've got any more questions, and I'll try and answer them. No video next week because we're going to be in New Zealand, but the week after is going to be a really cool video coming back from Tarawara Ultra. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you then.